Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you've been following the absolute explosion of artificial intelligence lately, you know there is a massive point of friction right now. I'm talking about data sourcing. AI models are literally starving for high-quality, verified data, but the way we currently acquire and pay for that data, it's fundamentally broken. So today, we're exploring a revolutionary framework that solves this exact problem: the Coda data royalty economy. We're going to break down the mechanics of how data monetization is shifting from a broken, one-off system into a dynamic, shared upside ecosystem.
Here is our roadmap for today. We've got 6 sections. First, the AI data dilemma. Then, enter the royalty economy. The data lifecycle. Who earns what? Contracts and security. And finally, a win-win future. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. The AI data dilemma, or as we like to call it, CAPEX versus upside.
Right now, there is just a massive mismatch in incentives. AI builders face huge upfront capital expenditures, CapEx. Basically, they have to spend absolute fortunes before they even know if their AI is going to be a commercial success. And meanwhile, the standard for data creators and labelers is this rigid, one-off work-for-hire model. You label the data, you get a flat fee, and boom, you are completely cut out of any future value. Think about it like a musician. Imagine if a musician was paid $50 to record a track, and then a record label made millions off of it over the next 20 years, and the musician never saw another dime. No way, right? But that is exactly what's happening to data creators in AI right now. When a piece of data helps an AI model generate ongoing value, the creator of that data deserves ongoing royalties. Just like a musician whose song gets played on the radio. They absolutely deserve to share in that upside.
Which brings us to Section 2, enter the royalty economy, and specifically its 3 payment modes.
Instead of those rigid upfront buyouts, Codatta introduces 3 innovative, verifiable payment modes that actually align the success of the AI with the compensation of the data creators. And the absolute game changer here is TNPL. That stands for Train Now, Pay Later. For AI startups and pilot programs, this is huge, like literally a paradigm shift. It means there's no massive upfront data cost blocking your innovation. Instead, it's a contractual revenue share model. You train your model now, and the payment is anchored to verifiable data usage and the actual success, the monetization events of the model later. It perfectly aligns the builders and the contributors because everyone is invested in the model's success.
Now, what's really interesting here is how flexible these modes are. Alongside TNPL, you have Pay As You Train. This triggers during training or serving based on metered usage. Think API calls or fine-tuning. This creates these smooth, continuous microflows of royalties. Then there's the performance-linked mode. This one pays out after specific KPIs are met, like accuracy or latency SLAs, which adds immense rigor and fairness, especially for things like safety evaluations. And the best part? These aren't mutually exclusive. Actually, you can combine all 3 into a single hybrid contract. So, for example, you could give a data creator a minimum upfront guarantee plus a long-term royalty tail, the whole shebang.
Let's see how this builds in Section 3, the data lifecycle. Follow the data.
Okay, to really grasp this economy, we need to take it out of the abstract and follow a real piece of data through the system. Let's use a rapidly changing crypto account label as an example. Crypto has massive volumes of accounts that need to be labeled incredibly fast and correctly. Every annotation needs solid evidence and has to reflect a status that might change in minutes, not weeks. So, how does that crypto label move through Codatta? Well, it goes through 4 compact phases. Phase 1 is sourcing and labeling. Here, contributors create the data and verify it, often by staking to prove their confidence in it. Phase 2 is listing and licensing, where the verified data is published and officially licensed out. Phase 3 is the model build. Developers take that licensed data to train, fine-tune, and launch their AI models. And finally, Phase 4 is usage and settlement. The AI is deployed in the real world, users interact with it, and those interactions trigger the payment flows we just talked about, sending royalties right back to the start.
Now, the absolutely crucial point here is this. It's not a straight dead-end line. There are constant feedback loops. As data is used and its value is proven, ownership fractions dynamically evolve. Royalties and reputation updates continuously feed back into the ecosystem. This ensures that the contributors actually keep earning their fair share, and that ownership remains strictly tied to verified, high-quality participation over time.
Which brings us nicely to Section 4, who earns what? Roles and incentives.
Codatta is essentially running a global intelligence network. And for a network like that to function, the incentives have to be perfectly calibrated. This structure is incredibly fair and rewards every single participant,
The contributor brings the original data, the labels, and the evidence, so they earn an ongoing fractional share of royalties. But they aren't alone. You have the validator who provides quality assurance, audits, and counter-evidence to keep the data pristine. They earn validator bounties plus a share of the royalties. Then you have the backer. This is fascinating. They provide staking as confidence. Essentially, they're putting up capital to back high-quality data and aid discovery. In return, they get a royalty share proportional to their stake's impact. Finally, the protocol itself, which provides the underlying infrastructure, governance, and security, takes a treasury share to ensure long-term sustainability. It's like a giant puzzle where everyone wins when the data is good.
But you know, a system this dynamic requires absolute trust. So let's look at Section 5, Contracts and Security, the fine print.
The contracts powering these transactions aren't your typical 50-page, totally unreadable terms of service. They are clear, verifiable, and enforceable. They dictate the exact royalty rate, meaning the percentage of revenue tied to specific usage events. They define the attribution scope, explicitly stating which assets and versions the royalties cover. They include those optional KPI clauses we mentioned earlier, where performance thresholds can dynamically alter payment rates. They have sunset and renewal triggers for time limits and renegotiations. And crucially, they enforce auditability. This dictates exactly what data is logged, how it's verified, and the strict windows for settling any disputes.
Now, if you're a data creator looking at this, you probably have one critical question right at the front of your mind. Do I lose control of my data by putting it into this AI ecosystem? It's a fair question. Honestly, it's the #1 fear for creators right now. Well, the answer is firmly no. You do not lose control. Access to your data within Codatta is strictly policy-gated. What that means is that simple, verifiable on-chain policies enforce the scope and the terms of your contract. The AI builder can only access and use your data exactly within the parameters you agree to, period. And it's entirely secured by cryptographic proofs. But what happens when that data is sensitive? What about strict privacy regulations and compliance? How do you have a transparent, verifiable ledger without, exposing people's private information to the whole world?
This brilliantly illustrates the elegance of the architecture. Sensitive content always stays off-chain. The private data itself is never broadcast. Instead, only the cryptographic fingerprints, the usage policies, and the payment flows are recorded on-chain. This creates highly secure data rooms where access logs are fully auditable. So you get absolute, trustless transparency regarding how the data is used and paid for without ever sacrificing the privacy of the data itself. It completely satisfies both regulatory demands and the need for verifiable compensation. Win-win.
Let's bring this all together in our final section, Section 6, a win-win future, shifting the paradigm.
The Codatta royalty economy isn't just a slight improvement. It is a fundamental paradigm shift that dramatically reduces the core risks for every single party involved. In the old model, builders took on massive upfront CapEx risks, and contributors suffered under extractive, one-off work-for-hire deals that completely robbed them of their future value. In the new model, we shift to an operational expense, an OpEx framework. It's a true royalty economy. Builders only pay if the model actually works and generates value, and contributors are finally protected. Their upside is preserved for the entire lifespan of the AI model they helped build.
And there's one more massive winner here that we honestly haven't highlighted enough: the end buyers of the AI. By using a system that tracks data from its very inception right through to the final model, buyers finally get a completely transparent line of sight. They can look at an AI model and verify exactly where its knowledge came from, how it was validated, and who stands behind it. That kind of trust is invaluable in an AI landscape currently plagued by hallucinations and black box sourcing.
The era of the one-off data buyout is ending. We are moving into a world where the value you create continues to reward you securely and transparently. The mechanics are in place. The lifecycle is verifiable. The only question left is, are you ready to claim your share of the AI economy? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.